Hi, I'm Nisha DeGaring, host of Good Things Utah, and I've been a longtime supporter of Todd's Belief Cast. I hope you find inspiration in the courageous stories shared by the amazing people Todd features on his show. The guests serve as shoulders for us to stand on, allowing us to see a little further and cultivate belief in oneself. Remember, you have the dignity and power to change. I encourage you to keep striving and believing in yourself. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires Belief Cast. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'd like to give a shout out to my sponsors quickly. Thank you so much for supporting this great cause. Today, we're in for a treat. We have the honor of speaking with Dr. Linda Edgar. She's the 160th president of the American Dental Association and the fifth woman to hold this prestigious position. Dr. Edgar's journey to dentistry began after a 15-year career in teaching, which saw her transition to dental school at the age of 37, which, by the way, is unheard of. It's amazing that she started it then. Since joining the ADA in 1992, she has made significant contributions, including serving as the 11th District Trustee and as the president of the Academy of General Dentistry. She is the author of the book, Climb Every Mountain, which I've got here and I've been reading. It's amazing. Beyond her professional achievements, Dr. Edgar has excelled in athletics as a national class marathon runner, Ironman competitor, which we're going to talk a lot about as well. In retirement, she continues to impact the community through volunteer work focused on education and access to dental care for veterans and underserved populations. She's married to her hero, Brian, has a miracle son. So grateful. We're going to delve into her inspiring story. So, Dr. Edgar, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
You bet. For my listeners, where I got introduced to Dr. Edgar was at my son-in-law's white coat ceremony for the Roseman Dentistry School that he just got accepted to. And Dr. Edgar gave the keynote speech, and it was mind-blowing. I kept bumping my wife, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get this woman on my podcast. That was the most incredible story. And so you guys are in for a treat, and we're so blessed that she was willing to come on. She's got a lot going on in her life. So for her to do this for us today, we really are blessed to have her. So why don't we start, Dr. Edgar, tell us a little bit about your childhood. I think you were born in San Diego, California. Is that correct?
Yes. My father was in the military. He was a Coast Guard rescue pilot, and his first base was San Diego, where my brother and I were born. I actually was only there for about 6 months, and then we moved to Newfoundland. And I lived in 9 places before I graduated from high school, including Puerto Rico and the Philippines and most of the coastal states. Like we lived in Washington, D.C., I think 4 times, Miami, California, and then we ended up in Port Angeles, Washington, when I was, I think we moved there when I went into 9th grade.
Okay.
So.
Wow. So, you've got an incredible story, but I'd like to find out, like when you're a very achieved woman. You've done so much. How were you as a child? Were you this, outgoing, confident, powerful little girl as you are today?
Well, no, I'm actually still a little shy. Actually, I can put on a good front, but I think growing up in the military, where you have to make friends every 2 years, you have to make new friends.
Yeah,
kind of pushes you to be friendly to strangers. Yeah. I mean, I can go up to just about anybody and start a conversation, and I think that's one of the things I learned is that you can get in an elevator and just be silent, or you can say, "How are you doing today?" You can give somebody a boost. And that is probably what I realized that made me feel good, when I could compliment somebody. And then you start a conversation, and it's amazing the people you will meet on the airplane, just, and sometimes people don't want to talk and they put their earphones on. So you get the message.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
Yeah,
that's yeah,
my dad was very. I was the middle child in, between two very different brothers, and my dad never felt that as a girl I should be relegated to girl things. So
right. Yeah, which we're going to get into a bunch of things that you've done, and kind of jumping ahead a little bit here. And I know this, but this will kind of like start this conversation of your amazing story. You know, um, yeah, uh, when you at age 24, you had a tragedy strike, you and your husband. And why don't we start from there? Why don't you talk about what that was and kind of how that just opened up this door of a bunch of challenges, but at the same time leading you to doing great things?
sure, just leading up to that a little bit. My husband and I met in high school. Uh, we knew right away. I was a sophomore; he was a junior. We knew right away that we were meant to be together. And he wanted to be a dentist. I wanted to be an OBGYN. And so I helped him the first 2 years of our marriage. I helped him through dental school as a teacher, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And the second year of our marriage, I had two tubal pregnancies that ruptured
Mm.
9 months apart,
Wow.
which was devastating to me. I almost died twice. You lose half your blood when that happens if they don't catch it right away. And so I decided right then that I did not want to be an OBGYN and deal with that kind of stuff
Understandable.
and continued to teach. And 3 months after that happened, a woman, a woman walked into my husband's residency program and wanted to give up her baby. Well, within that 3 months, I had, psychologically tried to protect myself for reasons why this might have happened to me and had decided not to have kids, that it was better not to have kids. And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, this miracle happens.
Yeah.
A woman shows up, she's due the next day. So we decided to be instant parents. But as I shared in my talk to the students, I felt very broken because, people that don't even want kids have them so easily. And here I
Yeah.
couldn't manage that. And so I threw myself into a running program to prove my worth. And that ended up being a wonderful kind of tragedy turned into triumph. We were able to adopt our son, who is now 6'8". And I kid when I talk about the story, I say, and I'm 5 foot. Like I used to be 5'5". I'm like 5'3" now. I say I would
Yeah.
have never put out that size. And
Right. Yeah.
he's a captain for Alaska Airlines. So we
Yeah.
were blessed, And I believe in miracles. I have a very strong belief system, and that's why part of why I was glad to come on your show, because
Yeah.
you go through life, there's tough stuff. There's always tough stuff for
Yeah.
everyone. You
Right.
look next door to you. So, yeah.
Well, you named your son David, and there was a reason why you and Brian decided to call him David. Would you share that with us?
Yeah. The story of David and Goliath, I just felt like, we didn't know what this little being was going to turn out to be, but
Right.
he, the David that wins, and overcomes. And he wasn't an easy teenager, I will tell you, because he was, he
Yeah.
loved basketball, girls, and lunch. I'm not sure in what order.
Right.
But he's in his 40s now, and he's become a father of two wonderful daughters, and we're so close. And
That's awesome.
so, yeah, I'm very fortunate.
Yeah. So you talked about how you started to, get into running almost to prove your worth. And I think that happens to a lot of us when we're struggling and we feel like at times we're less than, we want to feel like we are worth something. And I mean, I think you ran, is it over 45 marathons in your lifetime?
Yeah, I ran competitively for 10 years. And in that 10-year time, I started, with a very slow 10K, about 58 minutes, and just gradually added miles and speed work and found out I had a talent, and ended up running 45 marathons and qualifying for the first women's Olympic trials marathon in 1984. And that was, I got injured. Actually, you have to do that qualification within 1 year. And I had done the qualifying time, which was 2:51 many times, but I got injured like 3 days before you could do a qualifying time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think you also set the world record in the 50K, correct?
Yes. That was 11 times around Green Lake in Washington.
31 miles, right?
31 miles. Yeah, 3:21. That was...
I mean, that in itself
snow.
is wow. Yeah. And again, I'm running my first marathon here in October. It's be my first one. I've done a bunch of half marathons, but never a marathon. So
good for you.
I'll be doing my first one. I'm a little behind you, but I'm catching up maybe.
Great.
Yeah. So as you're running, you're doing all these amazing things there. You even did some Ironmans, correct?
Yeah, once I started running when I was 28 heavily until I was about 36. And then it was just harder. As you get older, it's harder to do the speed work. And I had been a swimmer as a young person. In Puerto Rico, I actually did open water swims at the age of 8. And so I hopped into the Ironman, and I actually qualified for the Ironman championships in Hawaii, but I went to Penticton to practice and ended up crashing on the railroad tracks, which weren't covered. That's another whole story, which pulled me out of the race. And then the next part was dental school. So I did the Ironmans actually that I did after dental school when I was in my 40s.
Oh,
so.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to how dental school even happened for you. I think if I understand correctly, your husband, Brian, just secretly got an application and got the process going. Talk about that.
So I crashed in this Ironman, and I was devastated because, you work yourself, you work really hard to get to that point. And so there I am with 5 broken ribs and sitting there, feeling sorry for myself. And secretly, Brian, my husband, who's been the wind beneath my wings, I say, he's also a dentist. He went to the dental school and got an application. I was 36 years old and brought it home and said, why don't you apply to dental school? And so I thought, okay, why not? I had all the prereqs because I had, been a pre-med major. I did take the DAT, which is the dental aptitude test. And we ended up putting the application on a plane so I could apply that year because it was due like in 24 hours.
Oh,
when you've been out of school for 16 years or so, you have a lot of credits to put on the application, a lot of things. And I did a portfolio of my running, which was, just to show the other side of me. And I got a call. I only applied to the University of Washington because my son by that time was 10 and I didn't want to be away from him. And got a call from the University of Washington, and the guy that did my interview was starting a marathon program. So that was another, I can't remember if I mentioned that in my story, but that was another miracle. I mean, here you go. And so we talked about running the whole time during the interview. So I got it. Yeah.
That's amazing. Because I know most people nowadays, when they're applying for dental school, they'll send out 50 applications all over the country just to try to get in. You did one.
I did one.
That's amazing.
I done well, in school. I wasn't a 4.0 like most of the kids are these days.
Right.
But
yeah.
I had a master's in teaching and, had been teaching for 15 years. And that holds a lot of credibility too.
Yeah. So. No, I love that. Well, can you, I want to ask, how did your experiences as a marathon runner and doing these Ironman shape your approach to your professional life, and becoming a dentist? And how did that help you get through all that? Because that's not an easy thing to do.
Well, I'll tell you, the best training for dental school was the marathon training, because you get tired. I mean, you are exhausted. The best training for this job as president of ADA has been the marathon training, because sometimes you run into roadblocks. And when I campaigned for this position, I told this story about the running, and I said the reason I tell it is because when you go from a 10-minute pace to a 6-minute pace, and I just worked really hard. I wasn't a natural. I said, you remove the words can't and impossible from your vocabulary. And that's what this right now, watching the Olympics, watching these young kids that have become these amazing athletes and their stories, it's a lot of times it's not about the talent. It's about the persistence, the willingness to get injured, get back up, believe in yourself. And the self-talk, which I'm sure you talk about on your show a lot, is so important. I mean, you can't I beat myself up because I am a perfectionist. I'm a Virgo. I beat myself up all the time. And when I'm asked by people, what would you change about your life? I say I wouldn't have beat myself up so much when I felt like I failed at things. So,
well,
so that's part of it.
No, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about self-talk for a minute. We all struggle with it, because we're all human and we're not perfect, but I know sometimes we want to be. What do you do to maybe have a more positive self-talk? And do you actually practice certain things throughout your day, or have you tried to cultivate? How have you done that, in your life?
Well, probably not purposely, but one of the things, I'm older, I lived a long life, and one of the things I have learned, and in this position also, is that people will be mean. Don't be mean back. Be nice back. People will do things that you want to correct. Sometimes it's not worth it because that's their path. And every day, what I try to do now is to be kind. Even when I was practicing, I'm not practicing now, every day I would try to say something nice about my staff in front of the patient. Say something nice about the patient in front of the staff. And I will tell you, I had the same patients my whole career. People would come from Florida to Washington if they moved, because they felt appreciated. They felt like they were cared about. And when I think I said that in my speech, 2 things you do with your patients and with people: care about them and call them and be verbal about that. And that's, for me, when you care about others, it comes right back to you. It comes right back to you. And so as I beat myself up, I have to turn around. People often don't take the time to compliment you. I just got a note from a past president, a text yesterday, who said, congratulations on your year. There have been so many good things that have happened. And there have been an amazing amount of good things that have happened, but there are things that I've beat myself up about too. And I'm still working on that.
Right.
Beat myself up. So we could have done that better, or we could have done this better.
Yeah. Well, one of the most profound things you said in your keynote speech that I listened to was when you said to all these up and coming dentists, if you want to be in the top 1% of your field, call your patients. Right. Call and see how they're doing. Follow up with them. And I'm not kidding you. That's when I'm like, wow, that is the difference maker right there. Those little things like that. And that's what your point is care about your patients.
Right. Exactly. And others. I mean, just like that guy, the past president, he took time to
Mm-hmm.
text me and there are 100 people that will think that, but they will not take the time to make that call or to send that text or that thank you note.
Wow.
And I do written thank you notes because, texts come and go and disappear, but people will keep those cards of appreciation that you send to them.
Yeah, I'm a big believer on sending a thank you. Like I did something once from a challenge from my mentor. He said, write your wife a letter of appreciation and send it in the mail to your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she gets this letter like, why is my husband sending me a letter? But it was so profound.
Yeah. I will tell you, I've been stressed, the last couple of years as president-elect and president. And my poor husband has taken the brunt of my grouchiness, which I'm certainly not perfect. And I'll be short with him. He'll want me to do something. I don't have time to do that. So taking care of we've been married 51 years this year.
Wow.
And
Congratulations.
People say, how do you do that? I say, well, you learn to appreciate each other, which he's done, but you also learn to argue well. And if you're a true partner and, respect each other, that's a big deal. So.
For sure. What personal sacrifices have you had to make in your career and how have they shaped you today? Because it takes a lot of sacrifice to do what you do.
Well, you give up a lot of Netflix time.
Oh man. Did you hear that, everyone? No more Netflix, right?
I still do some Netflix. Sometimes I binge that too late. But I will tell you that when I was a competitor for 10 years, I rarely went shopping. Your house.
Yeah.
I don't even want to tell you how messy my house is right now. And this year I have had to give up time with my grandkids, time with my husband. Yeah. I'm home some months only 4 days. And so people don't realize that you do get paid for this particular, assignment, but the time is about 100 hours a week for this position. And everyone that gets it, it's such an honor. When you go and you speak to these students at the White Coats, we go to all the state meetings and you're treated very well most of the time. And it's just an honor to try to help, protect the profession and the patients that we serve. That's a huge deal for me. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. The position you're in, you're a leader, right? What does that mean to you to be a leader, and how do you try to influence the people around you to kind of like follow your lead? Because you've been through so much and you've got a lot to offer. That's why you're in the position that you're in, the president of the ADA. What does that mean to be a leader to you?
Well, in my book, Climb Every Mountain, I've gone through several leadership positions. And when I was elected to secretary for the AGD, the Academy of General Dentistry, in 2007, I did not feel like I knew enough. So I started reading leadership books, and I've summarized these probably over 200 leadership books, and gotten quotes trying to figure out, the best way to be a leader. And some of the things that I've kind of pulled from that is once you get to certain levels, especially as a president, it's time for you to put others in the limelight.
Okay.
Some people never get over the need to be the center of attention. When you're the president, it's your time to, get others to shine, put others in positions where they can succeed. And people that are the most influential are not ones that are harping on all the things they're doing. It's always about the team.
Yeah.
Now, when you have something bad happen, then you take responsibility as the leader, as your fault. Yeah. But when you have a success, it's never, ever just about you. That's true in my whole life. As I've said, my husband has been the one that's encouraged me at every step of the way. This was not on my to-do list, I will tell you. None of these offices were on my to-do list. I got letters from 5 women who said, if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Because, it's a hard job and you give up a lot. So putting others in the limelight, shining the light on others is so important. If you got to have followers to be a leader, and I think if your followers feel appreciated and empowered to do things themselves for the good of the organization, that's one of the most important things you can do as a leader.
Love that. I know one of your favorite quotes that you have in your book, and I'm going to read it to you, and I want you to tell me what this means to you and why you love it so much. It's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Unless you try to do something beyond what you have already mastered, you will never grow.
Yeah.
I love that. So why does that mean so much to you?
Well, it's the stretching. When you're an athlete, if you want to improve, you have to hurt. No pain, no gain. I mean, you have to hurt first, then you grow stronger. And as a leader, it's kind of the same way. Sometimes you have to work really hard to get to the next step. And sometimes, fear is being afraid, or courage is the absence of fear. Courage is where you're willing to take that next leap, even though you don't know where you're going. I mean, we're doing amazing changes right now with the American Dental Association. We have an amazing executive director who brings an energy that's unparalleled right now. Mm-hmm. And we're trying a lot of new things. And so, sometimes you got to jump off the cliff and build your wings on the way down and have faith that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So.
No, I love that. And in order to grow, you're right. I love how you said that. You have to go through some pain. I mean, it's the only way you can grow. And I think a lot of times people avoid that pain because, none of us like to feel pain. But so how did you handle that? Because what you've been through a lot of pain in your life. And what kept you going? What was the drive behind all that, Linda?
I think when you get up, I write in my book, out of tragedies come triumphs. And I've had enough experiences like losing the babies and then adopting a son. Amazing. That was very painful. That was probably the most painful thing in my life was not being able to have kids.
Yeah.
And then you get, or being injured right before I was to qualify for the Olympic trials, knowing that if you just get up each time you fall, you're going to fall, but you can get up, and you hear that all the time on the TV this week, get up, there are amazing athletes, 2 seconds of miscalculation and they lose.
Yeah.
They'll get up, they'll come back. I like Simone Biles. What she went through just mentally.
Right.
And then that becomes the inspiration for others that go through those tough times in their life, especially young people in dental school. I shared that example of my first year almost quitting because I sat between a person that did lab work their whole life and a person that did jewelry, and my wax ups looked terrible compared to theirs. And I wrote my husband a letter. I didn't want to face him. I said, I don't think I can do this. I've never not been good at this kind of thing. But I stuck with it because he said, if you don't stick with it, there will be many people and many patients that will not benefit from you being their dentist.
Ooh.
And the dean said the same thing. I needed that encouragement. And so I don't think everybody goes through life being perfect. If they say they are, they're lying, because none of us are.
Wow. I love that. The power of words. And again, you keep referring back to Brian all the time. And man, this guy, let's give him a shout out. Like you said, you call him your hero. He he's giving you these words that are so powerful and profound that was the thing you needed to hear in that moment of like, I'm thinking of quitting. He says something very profound, and it's like, okay, that's what I needed to continue to move forward. I mean, this Brian sounds like a pretty amazing individual.
Yep, I'm very lucky. As I said in my talk with your people, you choose the right husband. It makes all the difference in the world.
Right? Yeah, no, I love that. Another quote I just want to share that you have in your book that you love, it's by Aristotle, and it goes like this. Excellence is never an accident. It's always the result of high intention, sincere effort, intelligent direction, skillful execution, and the vision to see obstacles as opportunities. And I love the reason why I'm pointing, I mean, you got a lot of quotes in here, but the reason why I'm pointing that one out, think of all the obstacles in your life that you've been through. There was obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, but yet it sounds like even though you had moments of maybe giving up, but you ended up looking at them as opportunities. So I often will tell my clients that life happens for us. And what do you think of that statement?
I like that statement. Can I tell you just a quick, I'm actually going to put this in my speech, my ending speech. Have you ever heard of the butterfly story?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm sure you have because it's common. So, the butterfly starts out as a caterpillar in the cocoon. And the comment is the more struggle that the caterpillar has to get out of that cocoon, the stronger the butterfly and the more beautiful the butterfly that emerges.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to remember when I come up against roadblocks and against mountains. People that are tough to deal with, I figure that's just making, me a stronger leader, a stronger and more beautiful butterfly. So that's been our theme this year has been transformation. And so I
love that.
Exactly what you said. Roadblocks create strength.
Yeah. Well, you really are an inspiration in that area. Watching, when I heard your story at that keynote speech that you gave, it was like one thing after the other, but then you persevered. Like you said, you fell down, got back up, and you just kept going. And I think we say that a lot. It's almost cliche to say it, but it's so true. Like anyone listening to this right now, if you're falling down and you feel like you can't get back up, you can. And you're a great example of that. And that's why I was so impressed with your story, but also I wanted people to hear your words because words are powerful, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that those that are listening to this are going to gain some inspiration to move through their obstacles.
Yes. And the other thing I want to emphasize is share yourself. I give my phone number. I think I did that during that talk and my email out.
You did.
And I say, if you're having a bad day, I am not too busy. Give me a call. If I don't answer, I'll call you back. And this year I did have 3 women dental students who were ready to quit like I was.
Wow.
And just listening to them, we've had some suicides in our profession, and you can make a difference for a life. And when I give I don't know if I didn't show slides during your talk, but I showed the slide of Robin Williams, the actor, who, took his life when he found out he had a brain disease that really would turn him into something. I'm not sure if that's exactly the reason, and he quotes, remember, there are people that are silently hurting, and reach out to help those, those others. And that's probably, I believe, one of the reasons we're here on earth is to help each other and to be there. And, people are afraid to say love one another these days, but that's really what it's all about,
Yeah.
Even when you're being treated badly, just love that person in return. They won't know what to do with you.
They'll be like, this is weird. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And it goes back to what you said earlier about, I love that you said, I'm going to say one kind thing about my staff in front of the patient and then one kind thing to the patient in front of my staff. And it just kind of sets this tone of this energy in the room. I can only imagine how good the feeling was in the room. And no wonder everyone's like, I don't care if I live in a different state. I'm going back to you.
Maybe not everybody, but a lot of
But a
people.
lot. But for anyone to do that, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
Your staff. I mean, people say, "Oh, I'm losing staff left and right," and that's true across the nation in whatever profession you're in,
Yeah.
whatever job you're in. And if you appreciate, studies have been done. If you show appreciation to your people that help you on a daily basis, that sometimes means more than what they're paid, and treat them as your family. It's really important.
For sure. Love that. One more thing in your book I want to point out. There's so many good things in here. I love it, by the way. Your book was fantastic.
Thank you.
It really spoke to me because it's kind of what I do with my own clients here that are struggling with addictions and things like that, and mental health issues. But there's a part in your book where you talk about blink, the power of thinking without thinking, kind of like this gut check, right?
Yeah.
Do you mind
Yeah.
sharing a little bit with our listeners what that is and why you called it blink?
Well, there's a book called Blink. Gladwell, I think, is the one that wrote that. I remember. And sometimes, when you're trying to make an important decision, sometimes it's your first gut check that gives you the right way to go. And it's just something about being intuitive about what's going on. Emotional intelligence has a lot to do with that. And that's something that some people really need to get better at. Intelligence is one thing, but the people that are the most successful are the ones that, can read a situation. And so sometimes, even though knowledge-wise it's telling you to do one thing, there's a quote in there, I think, about the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is knowing the information, but wisdom is knowing when to share it and when not to share it.
Yeah.
And so that comes across with Blink too. And I'm still learning that, even at my age. I'm still learning when to keep my mouth shut. There's another quote. I don't think it's in the book. It says, sometimes I need a speed bump between my brain and my mouth.
Oh man, I've never heard that. I like that's a good one.
I came across that probably on Facebook or something.
I love that. That's so good.
Quote. And I can tell you this year I've needed that a few times. So.
No, I love that. No, I think we all need that actually. Yeah. Well, I want to ask you this question. If there's someone listening to you right now who's in a dark place, they're struggling. It could be a dentist who's in dental school right now, wrestling with obviously all of that, or it could just be anyone listening to this who is in a place where they're struggling. You've already said some great things, but what would you tell that one person right now who's listening to you?
Well, I like I said, I've been through this year already, and when people call me, I usually have them retell me what it is that's making them feel so down. And sometimes I will share some of the things I've been through, and I basically will tell them, you will get through this. You will get up again. You're worth it. It's just so important for people to realize it's okay not to be okay. And I have a poster of a duck getting poured on by the rain. And it says, when I give my slides, it says, it's okay not to be okay. And to admit that, and everybody, there are people that pretend like they're perfect and they aren't. You're a good person, no matter what you feel right now. Just realize how important it is for you to realize how good a person you are. And I think just hearing that validation and giving I probably got a phone call every day from this one gal who was ready to end it. I mean, she was ready to take her life. Oh. And, in my life, of all the things I've done, that is the most important thing, to know that and now she's okay. But we probably had, I don't know, 20 phone calls in a couple weeks. And I just said, just call me. And, I'm never too busy. And we have to never be too busy to help our friends, our people that we run into, even strangers, because you can save a life by listening. Sometimes you don't have to say anything. You just have to say, I understand.
Wow.
So.
Man, you said something so profound right there and so powerful. You said, of all the things you've ever done, and you've done a lot of amazing things, the thing that means the most to you is that phone call, helping someone basically wanting to stay here and live and move forward. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, think about it,
Yeah, right?
If you hadn't been there, hadn't offered that ear, just think of how wonderful our world would be if we'd quit being mean to each other.
Right.
I know. News. I mean, my goodness.
I know.
So, I mean, why can't we just all play nice in the sandbox?
Oh, man. I love it. Well, you're amazing, Dr. Edgar. I really look up to you. I was so impressed with your keynote speech. I love the way you live your life. It helped me a lot too, just from your perspective. And I'm an overachiever myself, and I really like to try to do a lot of things. I'm helping a lot of people, I hope, the best that I can. I did find a quote on the American Dental Association's Instagram, and it's from you, and I want to read it. It says, quote, "Together we are strengthened." Sorry, I said that wrong. Together we will, and I am butchering this. Together we will strengthen our profession and our ADA by caring connections we forge as essential healthcare providers and mentors, friends, and allies to one another.
Yep.
Beautiful. And that's exactly what you were just saying. That's exactly what you do. You're a kind, strong, powerful person who's making a difference in so many areas, and I'm really impressed with you.
Well, thank you. It's an honor, and I'm humbled. And I mean, I have had a wonderful life, and I'm hoping I have a lot longer life. And my next chapter will be mentoring.
Yeah.
I'll have a lot more time after October 22nd.
Right?
To help other people and be with my grandkids again. So
no, that's great. Well, if someone wants to reach out to you and learn more about you, and maybe even get a copy of, how to get a copy of your book, and what would be the best way for them to do that?
Well, my phone number is 206-940-6112, and I'm glad to talk to anyone. The next couple months are pretty packed, so maybe waiting till October 22nd, unless you're in dire straits. The book is on Amazon. You have to go through a bunch of stuff to get the book advertised and all that. So I don't really go into that. Okay. I tell people about it. I think it's a great book for almost anybody, because the quotes in there, can reach a lot of people, and the summaries of the leadership books are good. My private email will be Dr. Linda, that's Dr. Linda, all small letters, at Edgar, that's Edgar, D.D.S.com.
Okay.
You can email or text me, and be glad to, lend a hand.
Yeah,
that's what I'm here for.
I love it. Well, I'll put all those links in the show notes when we go live, which will be Monday. We're going to go live with yours on Monday, and we're going to get it out to 500,000 people. And I'm so excited for that, for them to hear your amazing story. And again, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with me today. And thanks for being a light in this world. We all need it.
Well, good luck on your marathon, and realize when you finish that you will be able to walk again after a few days.
Thank you. That's good to know.
Down the stairs after my first one.
That's good to know. And I'll tell you, you're going to be part of my inspiration when I'm running and I start hitting those walls where I'm like, oh boy, I'm going to
Yeah.
think of you and the stuff you've been through, and I'm going to fight through it. I'm like, hey, I'm going to, Linda power. Here we go. I'm going to just whatever I need to get through that wall.
Yeah. Yeah. You will hit some walls, but
Yeah.
it will be over. Do it. I used to do it. I'd get to 20 and then I would reset my mind like I was doing a 10K for the last 6.2 miles. And
Okay.
that seemed to work.
I'll remember that. So thank you so much. And thank you for taking some time with us today. I'll push people towards your direction. And again, I recommend Climb Every Mountain. This book's amazing. I'll put the link to Amazon on how to get it. It's a great book for anyone, young kids as well, for sure. So, but yeah, you're awesome. Dr. Edgar, thank you for taking time with us today. And I appreciate all that you do.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Take care. Thanks, everyone. And, thanks for being here. Please share this with your family and friends, this episode. And I'm sure this inspired you like it did me. And thank you for all your support. And again, a shout out to my sponsors. Thanks for supporting me. I love you guys. Until next time, everyone, take care.